Chapter 5. How Thoughts Form Matter. Coordination Points. As you read the words upon this page, you realize that the information that you are receiving is not an attribute of the letters or the words themselves. The printed line does not contain information, it transmits information. Where is the information that is being transmitted then, if it is not upon the page? The same question, of course, applies when you read a newspaper and when you speak to another person. Your actual words convey information, feelings, or thoughts. Obviously, the thoughts or the feelings and the words are not the same thing. The letters upon the page are symbols, and you have agreed upon various meanings connected with them. You take it for granted, without even thinking of it, that the symbols, the letters, are not the reality, the information or thoughts which they attempt to convey. Now, in the same way, I am telling you that objects are also symbols that stand for a reality whose meaning the objects, like the letters, transmit. The true information is not in the objects any more than the thought is in the letters or in the words. Words are methods of expression. So are physical objects in a different kind of medium. You are used to the idea that you express yourselves directly through words. You can hear yourself speak them. You can feel the muscles in your throat move, and if you are aware, you can perceive multitudinous reactions within your own body, actions that all accompany your speech. Physical objects are the result of another kind of expression. You create them as surely as you create words. I do not mean that you create them with your hands alone or through manufacture. I mean that objects are natural byproducts of the evolution of your species, even as words are. Examine for a moment your knowledge of your own speech, however. Though you hear the words and recognize their appropriateness, and though they may more or less approximate an expression of your feeling, they are not your feeling, and there must be a gap between your thought and your expression of it. The familiarity of speech begins to vanish when you realize that you, yourself, when you begin a sentence, do not know precisely how you will end it, or even how you form the words. You do not consciously know how you manipulate a staggering pyramid of symbols, picking from them precisely those you need to express a given thought. For that matter, you do not know how you think. You do not know how you translate these symbols upon this page into thoughts and then store them or make them your own. Since the mechanisms of normal speech are so little known to you on a conscious level, then it is not surprising that you are equally unaware of more complicated tasks that you also perform, such as the constant creation of your physical environment as a method of communication and expression. It is only from this viewpoint that the true nature of physical matter can be understood. It is only by comprehending the nature of this constant translation of thoughts and desires, not into words now, but into physical objects, that you can realize your true independence from circumstance, time, and environment. I am pleased with the beginning of my chapter, for I think I have hit upon an analogy, and a true one, that will release the reader from the artificial bondage of physical form. When he sees it as a method of his own expression, he will realize his own creativeness. Now, it is easy to see that you translate feelings into words or bodily expressions and gestures, but not quite as easy to realize that you form your physical body as effortlessly and unself-consciously as you translate feelings into symbols that become words. You have heard the expression before, I am sure, that the environment expresses a particular individual's personality. I am telling you that this is a literal and not symbolic truth. The letters upon the page have a reality only of ink and paper. The information they convey is invisible. As an object, this book itself is only paper and ink. It is a carrier of information. You may perhaps argue that the book was manufactured physically and did not suddenly erupt through Rupert's skull, already printed and bound. You in turn had to borrow or purchase the book, so you may think, surely I did not create the book, as I create my words. But before we are finished, we will see that basically speaking, each of you create the book you hold in your hands, and that your entire physical environment comes as naturally out of your inner mind as words come out of your mouths, and that man forms physical objects as unself-consciously and as automatically as he forms his own breath. The peculiar particular aspects of your physical world are dependent upon your existence and focus within it. The physical universe does not contain physical objects of solidity, width, and depth, for example, to those whose existence is not within it. Other kinds of consciousness coexist within the same quote-unquote space that your world inhabits. They do not perceive your physical objects, for their reality is composed of a different camouflage structure. You do not perceive them, and generally speaking, they do not perceive you. This is a general statement, however, for various points of your realities can and do coincide, so to speak. These points are not recognized as such, but they are points of what you could call double reality, containing great energy potential, coordination points, indeed, where realities merge. There are main coordinate points, pure mathematically sources of fantastic energy, and subordinate coordinate points, vast in number. There are 4 absolute coordinate points that intersect all realities. These coordinate points also act as channels through which energy flows, and as warps or invisible paths from one reality into another. They also act as transformers and provide much of the generating energy that makes creation continuous in your terms. Your space is filled with these subordinate points, and as you will see later, these are important in allowing you to transform thoughts and emotions into physical matter. When a thought or emotion attains a certain intensity, it automatically attracts the power of one of these subordinate points, and it is therefore highly charged, and in one way magnified, though not in size. These points impinge upon what you call time as well as space. There are certain points in time and space, therefore, again in your terms, that are more conducive than others, where both ideas and matter will be more highly charged. Practically speaking, this means that buildings will last longer in your context, that ideas wedded to form will be relatively eternal. The pyramids, for example, are a case in point. These coordinate points, absolute, main, or subordinate, represent accumulations or traces of pure energy, minute to an extreme if you are thinking in terms of size, smaller than any particle of which your scientists know, for example, but composed of pure energy, and yet this energy must be activated. It is dormant until then, and it cannot be activated physically. Now, a few clues here that might help you, or mathematicians. There is an ever so minute alteration of gravity forces in the neighborhood of all these points, even of the subordinate ones, and all the so-called physical laws to some extent or another will be found to have a wavering effect in these neighborhoods. The subordinate points also serve in a way as supports, as structural intensifications within the unseen fabric of energy that forms all realities and manifestations. While they are traces or accumulations of pure energy, there is a great difference between the amount of energy available in the various subordinate points and between the main and absolute points. These are points, therefore, of concentrated energy. The subordinate points are far more common and, practically speaking, affect your daily concerns. There are better places than others to build houses or structures, points where health and vitality are strengthened, where other things being equal, plants will grow and flourish, and where all beneficial conditions seem to meet. Some people can sense such neighborhoods instinctively. They occur within certain angles made by coordinate points. The points obviously are not themselves physical, that is, they are not visible, though they may be mathematically deduced. They are felt, however, as intensified energy. In a given room, plants will grow more effectively in a particular area than in other areas, provided that both areas contain such necessary requirements as light. All of your space is permeated by these coordination points, so that certain invisible angles are formed. This is highly simplified, but some angles will be more quote-unquote on the outskirts than others, and will be less favorable for all conditions of growth and activity. And speaking of these angles, we will treat them as three-dimensional, though they are of course multidimensional. Since the nature of these angles is not the main topic of my book, it is not possible to explain them thoroughly here. They will seem to be stronger during certain times than other times, though these differences have nothing to do with either the nature of the coordinate points or with the nature of time. Other elements affect them, but we need not be concerned with these now.